Welcome to the CompCalc Plus 2019 MacOS support and training videos. This is the first of 3 videos, basic features and functions. Additional videos include rating with the CompCalc macOS 2019 and advanced tips and techniques. My name is Richard Montalvo, and for the next 8 to 12 minutes, I'll be providing you with an overview of the basic features and functions of the CompCalc Plus macOS version. First, just a quick disclaimer. It's not the intent of the law offices of Richard Montalvo nor Richard Montalvo individually to create an attorney-client relationship, nor provide legal analysis, opinion, or recommendations to the users of the CompCalc. The CompCalc, all data and information provided through the CompCalc should be verified by all users, either with the DEU or through retaining legal counsel for the purpose of conducting that evaluation. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. You can see I'm doing this in September. Actually, it's almost October, and I have my old logo up, CompCalc Plus 2018, the complex made simple, on my desktop. But you can see I've got the CompCalc Plus 2019 macOS version up here. This is a beta version. We're going to go through and look at some of the features and functions contained in the CompCalc Plus 2019. Before we begin, let me tell you some of the things that we've done that are new for 2019. First of all, we've perfected the tree command, which allows grouping of the combined value based on region, both in the Mac OS version for 2019 as well as the Windows 10 version. You should also be aware that versions of the CompCalc are now available across the entire series of platforms. That includes at the App Store for your iPhone, your iPad, and of course the Mac computers, as well as the Google Play Store or Google Play for you Droid users, and last, also at the Windows 10, the Microsoft Store for Windows 10 users. We've also worked very hard this year, and we're about to release on AWS, Amazon Windows, or Amazon Web Services, a internet-based program that'll be available for licensing with some of our partners out there. So you should see that in early 2019. We're beta testing that version right now. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. This is the CompCalc Plus Mac OS 2019 version. I'm going to go up here and double click on the icon. We're going to go in to it. Here you can see it says 2019 Plus CompCalc. This is again the Mac OS version. It brings it up. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to close this down so we're not too busy on our screen. Okay. Now, it's always going to come into the first of the different modules, and I want to go through so that you're familiar with the different aspects of the screen so you can see everything here. The first thing, you're just like every other program, you're going to see when you click on the CompCalc app and it's open in a window, you're going to see your standard pull-down menus that you see in every Mac OS. And we'll be going through some of these features, but we have the About, we have Quit, File. You can load a file if you have a rating. Now, it depends on the module that you're in, which of these are active. But of course, we're in the PD rating module, so we're able to load a rating that we've previously done. We can save a rating, load a rating. We can close this out. We can export it to a PDF. We can also send it by email if we have a rating, and that's going to automatically format your rating. We can print it to a wireless printer or a printer that's wired to our hardwired printer, but primarily it's wireless now. You can edit, because we're in the rating module, we can edit for the purpose of adding a group, and this is part of the tree command. This is going to allow you, for example, if you have 3 ratings in the arm and 2 ratings in the back and 3 ratings in the left lower extremity, you can go ahead and group those for the purpose of combined value. You have 3 different regions, 3 different combined value equations on multiple rating strings within each rate and within each region, and then you're going to take those 3 and combine those again. So it allows grouping. You can create a new rating string, and this is going to I go into a lot greater detail in rating with the CompCalc support and training video. You can delete a rating or group. You can clear all inputs. We're going to do that right now. And see, we have a rating down here. So we're going to clear all inputs. So it goes back to neutral. It's going to say, are you sure? Yeah, I am. And this is our neutral. This is where everything starts out. 100% apportionment, 50% whole person impairment with a date of injury of 1/1/15 and a date of birth of 1/1/1980. So, and we'll in the rating with the CompCalc, I go through all that in greater detail. Then view, and we went ahead and hit on flip so that I can open everything up. And again, this works differently depending on the module that you're in. Okay, we can go ahead and enter full screen. And now we have a full screen of this. If we go back up here, we're going to go ahead and take us out of full screen. Okay, we can zoom and minimize. We can modify our fonts. And of course, for help, we've got our 3 support videos. And this is the one time that once you've installed the CompCalc, whether it be on your iPhone, your iPad, your Droid device, your Windows computer, or your Mac computer, this is the one time you're going outside of your local computer to the internet, because these videos, as you probably know, are up on YouTube, and then we have embedded links for access within the CompCalc. Okay, the next area I want to go through are the icons across the top. You can see we have animated icons for each of the basic, or each of the separate modules. Right now we're on the PD module, and let's take a look at this really quick, because one of the things that I want to cover is not only the modules and the features, but the input feature, because I get a lot of questions about that. Not so much on the macOS, but more so on the Apple iPhone, because the real estate is much smaller. And what I mean by that is you don't have as much display, and so I've had to do a lot more flips, and people can get lost. First thing, though, I want to cover with you on the PD rating is that we have PD rating manual schedule. Okay, this is going to allow you to go through and watch how simple this is. I'm going to do somebody that was born in 1965. We're going to go back to 65, and you can just go ahead and either put in the number or whatever. And let's say that they were born August 20th. How's that? Now I've just put in that simply the birthday for somebody. Okay, so now we have the date of birth. Of course, we're going to have the date of injury next. And let's say it's a 2016, and let's say it's March. And let's say it's the 10th, okay? I'm just putting these in with no rhyme or reason. We're going to do a DRE 13% standard. That's a pretty easy rating. You can see across the top, we're building the rating right now. It says it's 50%. With our inputs, it's telling us that it's 78%. But we're going to go through, we're going to modify this real quick to 13%. And we're going to say it's only 75%. No, we're going to say it's 80% industrial, 20% non-industrial. It's automatically going to modify that. And you can see that the format, both on the screen and as we export, is identical to what you're going to get from the DEU. Now, I want you to note something. The date of injury is 2016. So the DFEC is the standard 1.4 pursuant to Labor Code Section 4660.1, which had an effective date as, for date of injuries on or after 1/1/13. So you can see right there's our standard rating. It also gives us average weekly wage. The PD rate right now is set at minimum, but I want you to see something here. If I'm going to modify this, and let's say his average weekly wage is actually $600. Now, given the date of injury of 16, the max PD rate is $290. It automatically recalculates everything. And what's nice about the algorithms that we've developed here is they're bidirectional, meaning you don't have to go through in a particular sequence. You can modify everything. You can put in whatever variables you want. We're going to go up and modify because this is a back, a DRE3, we're going to change it, the general part of body, to spine. And you can see over here, watch over here, what this does is an indexed array. So depending on what you select, it limits the detailed part of body. We also have a search engine up here. So let's say it's low back. So we're going to put in lumbar, L-U-M. And you can see now it's limited to just the lumbar parts of body from the schedule. I'm going to say it's just a DRE. I'm going to double click on that. You can see it's automatically modifying that. Now, there's been a lot of discussion online about all industries and any industries and what I did there to modify that. Understand that all industries give you an alphabetized list of every occupation in the state of California per the schedule. Any industry gives you overlapping occupations, so it's a less list. It's a smaller list than any or all industries. Of course, then we have all the separate industries per the schedule, and you can see here again it's indexed. The array is indexed. So if we choose automotive, these are all the automotive. Let's say that it's automotive repair. Let's go with body repair. Okay, let's say that's what he is. Now that's our rating, and it's just that simple. If we have multiple rating strings, we can turn on or off. One further comment about the PD rate. Understand that the CompCalc, whether it's calculating indemnity for PD or for TD or for life pension or 100%, it always assumes maximum unless otherwise specified. But if you input an average weekly wage, it will always calculate the indemnity rate never above the max or below the min given the date of injury. Now think about that algorithm, how complicated that is. And we have close to 5,000 installs over 4 years. The algorithm is 100% virtually. Well, I want to be careful, never say never, but it's accurate. Here again, you want to verify all the information from the CompCalc with the DEU and or with your attorney. Okay, so once again, the indemnity rate, whether it be calculating PD rate or TD rate, where average weekly wage is inputted, it will give you the PD rate or TD rate, the indemnity rate, never above the max or below the min, given the date of injury. Okay, that's just how simple it is to rate with the CompCalc. You can go ahead and go up here, edit, and we could add a new rating string. Now, I'll go through this in greater detail, but now we have the identical same rating string, but we're only going to change parts of it. So we want everything in here. And let's say it's an upper extremity. I just want to show you this real quick. There is no apportionment, so we modified that. Okay, now we're going to go with an upper extremity, and we're going to go with, I don't know, peripheral neuropathy. That's all, we always see that, right? And we're going to remain unchanged. What? The applicant's date of birth, because it's the same applicant. He just has two rating strings, two parts of body, same date of injury. We're going to change the whole person impairment. We're going to change it to 20. And the reason I want to do that is I want to show you the combined value. It's 100%. Now, right now, we have taken that 20% and using the same adjustments, and you can see the occupational numbers the same, although the adjustment given the part of body is modified. We end up with an 18% on the back and a 38% on the upper extremity. We have combined value on. Now I want to show you this because of the kite decision. I put this in 3 or 4 years ago when the kite decision came down. It modifies and allows the user to turn on or off the combined value for aggregation versus the combined value equation. And of course it modifies, and you can see very quickly that it is a significant modification to the indemnity. Okay, that's enough about this. I'm not going to, I go into a lot greater detail. We go into grouping and that sort of thing in the rating with the CompCalc. Now, right now, we're in the PD rating manual and schedule. One of the things that we added a few years ago because it was asked for by Jason Marcus is the what if on the combined value. And here, what you're able to do is do what ifs on in terms of percentages for the combined value equation. So let's say first thing we have to do is we have to put in the date of injury. And I'm going to make this a 2014 date of injury. The next thing we have to do is we have to put in the percentage for each of the rating strings. The first one I have is 16%. Then we're going to go up to edit, and we're going to say, let's put in a additional rating string. And let's say the next rating string, and we're doing the combined value, let's say that we have it at 36. Okay? Now you can see that the combined value, if you take 16 and 36, that should be 52, right? Because that's 40, yeah, 52. Instead, with the combined value, it's actually 46. Let's add one more so that we can see how these numbers behave, a new number. And we're going to go and say that this is, I don't know, what do you think? Let's make it easy. The third one is a 10%. Okay, when you add these up, you've got 46, 56, 62. But when the combined value equation is applied to these three numbers, you end up with 51. But watch this. We have the PD rate at maximum, because that's the default given the date of injury. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to input, because he doesn't earn 435, which is the max for max PD rate. He only earns 300. I'm going to always use easy numbers so you can verify. That should change the rate, the PD rate, from maximum to a PD rate of $200. We're going to go ahead and input that. Now the PD rate is at $200, and the caption here will change depending on whether or not it's calculating at minimum, at just a PD rate between the minimum and the maximum, or if it's calculating at the maximum. You can see the combined value, and it automatically applies that to the dollar amount. One of the things that you should be aware of is that the simplicity. Everything here is obvious and easy. So if we want to go back and we want to just quickly clear all inputs, or delete a number or add a new number, I'm just going to clear all inputs and put it back in neutral, which is how it generally comes in. It's going to go ahead. One of the things that we tried to do throughout the development is make sure that this is, as possible, idiot-proof, so that you don't make mistakes and have to go back and redo your work. So I'm going to go ahead and say OK. It's asking me, are you sure? Yep, and you can see we're back to neutral. Now the way I got there was we have PD rating manual, we have combined value. Okay, so I'm moving in between combined value and the PD rating portion of the program. Okay, next what I want to do is I just want to take you through the different modules. They all pretty much work the same as far as input and export features. Let me go back. One other thing I want to show you on the PD. Okay, so now we have a rating string. Let's talk about the export feature real quick. Here we can export to PDF, we can send it to an email, or we can print it. Let's say that we want to print it. Now, here we can put in all the information. I'm doing this up at my ranch, so I don't have a printer right now hooked up to it, but this is pretty self-explanatory. We put in the applicant's name, we put in the ADJ number, or that could be the claim number, we put in the physician's name, and then also the date of the report, which is important. We may want to put notes in here. For example, this is a Guzman rating of the AME's report of, and it reflects apportionment. There's a question as to whether or not the apportionment's valid and need deposition. We may want to put something like that in there. And of course, we can print it out, but here, let's say that we've just done all this. What if we want to just send it by email to our adjuster? Well, you can do the same thing, and you can email it out. And all this is integrated, so it ties in, allows you to save, restore, email. You can bring it up later to email it to your client. This all interfaces. You can email it to, we use Maris Case management software, and so this dovetails with that and helps us out tremendously. Okay, let's now go to the permanent disability. Now, here's what's neat about each aspect. You'll see that I have information from my book. A little plug there. It's the Work Comp Index, a topical guide to the law of California workers' compensation. Hopefully most of you have it. LexisNexis is the publisher of that book. Okay, permanent disability. All this is an indemnity chart. It's self-explanatory. The one advantage here is that you have the average weekly wage. Okay, you can put this in again. It will calculate the PD rate, never above the max or below the min, given the date of injury. Okay, you can put whatever you want, and it gives you the number of weeks and the amounts given that. One of the things that you'll see is it's idiot proof. Of course, there's no 15% up or down, but pursuant to Labor Code Section 4658D2 3. But if you go back where it does apply, Labor Code Section 4658 does apply, you can see you've got 15% up, you've got none for a flat, or you've got 15% up. I'm sorry, 15% down or 15% up, and it's going to modify everything for you here. One of the things that everybody wants when we're evaluating a case, at least on the defense side, is a simple way to calculate 100%, applying the COLA calculation and the PV calculation. Now I go in greater detail in how this algorithm was written and how it behaves in advanced tips and techniques, but I just want to show you this real quick because this is something. Let's say that you have a 100% case. It's a 2000, I don't know, let's say we're going to make it a 2000, let's say it's a 2014 date of injury, okay? And now we're going to go to 100%, and of course that's a unicorn. For those of you who don't know what that is, that's a little programmer candy coming at you. I'm a defense attorney, so you know I am. Anyway, most of you would agree, at least under the standard method and the standard chapter or table, 100% is virtually impossible. The only way to get 100% is really to apply a Guzman or a LaBeouf-Ogilvy analysis. And of course, now we have the Fitzpatrick case that tells us what I've been saying for years, and this is recorded. So I'm not jumping on the bandwagon here, which is you have to go through Labor Code Section 4060 or 4660 or 4660.1 to get, according to the fact, under 4662B. Okay, let's take a look at this. What this allows you to do is set the date of injury. Of course, it's 100%. You want to set the age at first payment of PD. So let's say somebody is 62, okay? And now we have to set the COLA rate, and 3.5 is always, we'll go 3.25, keep it a little bit low for the defendants. The PV, we're going to kick it up to 1.25. We're going to calculate that on an annual basis, but be aware you can do it semi-annually, quarterly, or monthly. And let's say we have a female, and let's say that her PD rate for 100% is the TD rate at a max level, and it tells us that. Of course, you can go ahead and input whatever you want, and it'll calculate effectively your TD rate, never above the max or below the min, and then calculate given the COLA calculation, the PV calculation. Now, for those of you who don't understand how these numbers behave or how they work, and I go into greater detail in advanced tips and techniques. The COLA is an inflationary rate, and that's why I put it in the caption. It's increasing the value over time. The PV rate is a discount rate. It's reducing it over time. And so you can see this, our applicant, our hypothetical applicant, who's a female at 62, is expected to live another 22.8 years. She's going to get a max rate of PD payable at the TD rate given the date of injury, which is 2014. That has a future value without application of the COLA or the PV. So it's just what we would pay over time without increasing it through the COLA inflationary rate and applying a PV discount rate. That is $1.2 million. But with the COLA inflationary rate, and despite the PV discount rate, it still increases it by about $400,000 to $1.6 million. So that's the value of the case, and it's quick to get, and it certainly puts us in the ballpark of the value of this case. There are some other aspects that may modify this, and of course this is just the indemnity. It wouldn't include the value of the anticipated future need for medical treatment. Okay, let's move on to TD. I want to get moving here so I can show you everything. The TD is just an indemnity chart. Given the date of injury, it's going to tell you what the max and min is. TD rates. But here's what's cool, and I have this feature in everything. One of the things that we are doing down at the board or at our desk is always trying to calculate TD for a given period of time. Now, the first thing you have to do, I want to go back here, is you have to put in the date of injury, because this is idiot proof, and it knows that you're not going to calculate TD prior to the date of injury. So when you go to the TD date calculator, it automatically assumes that you can't calculate before 2011. So we're going to go to 2011. We're going to go to April. Well, it's April 1st, April full. And notice that the ending date is always in advance of that, or it always rolls up. The beginning, in other words, the beginning date can't be later than the ending date. And the converse is also the case. So the ending date, we're going to go ahead and move this. And you can see all the numbers are changing down at the bottom. And we're going to change this to 2012. Now what we've just done is we have an average weekly wage of 14, which is max for the TD rate. But let's say that once again, it's just $600. Okay? And this should change to 4, and this number, because that's going to be about half of that, this should be somewhere around 38,000. Let's just see what happens real quick. And actually, I did it in my head. It's 34,000. It gives you the total days of $610, or 610 days. It also gives you the weeks at 87 weeks, 1 day. Okay? Now, one thing you should be aware of, and this is for the applicant attorneys, if you have an ongoing period of TD, you would want to extend this by 1 day for the value, because per the labor code on calculation, I use the assumption that the ending date is the P&S date, because the calculation includes the start date but excludes the ending date, because where you have an ending date ending with a P&S date, you wouldn't include that in the calculation for TD. Okay, there's your TD module. Life pension. Now what's cool about the life pension is, once again, I have the PV COLA calculator. Watch this. See, you can see the max and mins given the date, but let's talk real quickly. And I go into greater detail on the present value of the life pension. But you can see here, excuse me, you can see here, you put in the date of injury, you put in the percentage, let's say it's 90%, you put in age at first payment. Let's say it's 50, 55, how's that? We're going to leave it a male for gender. We're going to go ahead and put the COLA calculation at 3%, the discount rate at 2%. So this is very, very pro-defendant. We're going to calculate it on an annual basis, but then again, you can select for more accuracy. And it gives you, now I want you to think about how this is paid out over time, and I go into greater detail in the advanced tips and techniques, but you first pay out the PD over time. We apply a present value discount rate of the PV, or of the PD, because you're going to pay that out first, and you can see that our discount rate is 2%. Instead of actually paying, because what we're doing here is we're calculating a CNR valuation given a life pension of 90% for a 55-year-old based on 2010 census data life expectancy. You can see over here I've also included life expectancy of 24 or 25.4 years. The PD, though, is going to be paid out over 14.45 years. With a discount rate of 2%, that reduces it from 218. Our liability as a defendant would be down to 195. Then we're going to pay out a life pension over the additional life expectancy of 10.95 years. That is going to, but we're applying to that a COLA calculation as well as a PV calculation. Now, what's interesting here is the future value of the life pension is 132, but when you apply the COLA and the present value is actually reduced. That's because my COLA, I want you to think about how this is counterintuitive. The COLA calculation, I build an array and I store each calculation all the way up. Then I come back after I've calculated all these different, I haven't aggregated them, they're individual. I have a an array with each individual payment over time. Then I come back and I reduce it by 2% discount rate. But because my discount rate is 2% and my COLA rate is 3%, it actually reduces the value over time. Nobody thinks about this. Now, one of the things that you're going to hear from the applicant attorneys is the COLA rate should actually be 4%, and you shouldn't have any discount rate. Now watch what happens. Bam. Now we're earning the present value of the PD is identical. It doesn't change. The COLA calculation and the the PV, which is 0, actually increases significantly, about $30,000, and our overall value of this case is now $380,000. You'd think it would be more than what it is, but realize you first have to pay out the PD over time, then you apply the COLA and the present value discount rate over the remaining life expectancy. Now, where these cases really get expensive is when you change it to a younger person, and all of a sudden you're at what, almost $750,000 on the same value. And look at how much, look at the change in the present value of the life pension, because the life pension is now going to be paid for 24 years, and that jumps up to almost $500,000 just in the life pension. Okay, neat way to get your present value COLA calculation of a life pension. Okay, of course, life expectancy, pretty simple. Job displacement, death benefits. I have a date calculator that allows you to calculate periods date minus date. So let's say that it's 2018 to 2019. It's going to give you the weeks and the total days. Okay. Date minus days, so you can put the or date minus days so that you can calculate that. You can also use date minus days, date plus days or date minus days, depending on the module. I'm moving between everything up here. Okay, pretty self-explanatory. One of the things that I'm always looking for are QME specialty codes, as well as, when I'm filling out a CNR, the body part codes. Okay, so that's another module. Support and training, self-explanatory. I'd really like you to write a review if you like, especially if you like this. If you don't like it, privately send me an email and tell me how you would change things. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on configuration, but if you don't like the colors that pop up, some people want different coloration because it's easier for them to see. You can modify all that, and of course you can always return it to default after you decide that you don't like it so much. Okay, that concludes our support and training video for macOS 2019 CompCalc. I hope this has helped you out, and I hope that if you have any questions or comments, and I'll also add this, if you have a great suggestion for something you'd like to see added, because I'm running out of ideas, it's pretty comprehensive now, and we've completed all platforms, including now the AWS, the internet version, that'll be released in 2019. Drop me an email. I do pay for a good idea. So, okay. Hey, thanks so much, and hopefully this will get you through it. If you have any questions or comments, again, just drop me an email, and that concludes this lecture.